Hello, 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 and welcome to the Bridges and Beacons podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Meyerson, and we're here, and this will be the last episode that I'm recording for this season. And I'm really excited because I have a very cool guest with us today. His name is Joel Salomon, and he is a finance, mindful money expert and prosperity coach who helps others overcome obstacles standing in the way of their financial freedom. He's an award winning TEDx speaker, workshop facilitator, and frequent television and podcast guest. As a former manager of a $700 million portfolio, the creator of his own successful hedge fund, and the author of three best selling books, he has learned that the true foundation of wealth is a mindset of gratitude, love, and service. Welcome. I'm so happy to have you, Joel.
Thanks so much for having me, Kelly. It's a great pleasure and honor to be here today.
Yeah, it is. I'm so excited. First of all, I'm excited because I'm over here in New Jersey. You're over in the greatest city of the world, as we said at the top. But I really what caught my eye about your bio is the true foundation of wealth is a mindset of gratitude, love, and service. I love that so much because I think a lot of people may come at money mindset and money challenges with the idea that you have it or you don't have it. You have money, you don't have money. You're lucky or you're unlucky. And it sounds like your approach is so much more than that.
Absolutely, it is. And we're taught limiting beliefs growing up, right? If you weren't brought up in a castle, I wasn't, then you were probably taught things or heard from your parents. We can't afford that. Money doesn't grow on trees, which, by the way, is literally false because money is paper and paper comes from trees. But I digress.
I
Uh,
love that.
um, you may have heard inflation's really high. You may have heard you got to work really, really hard to be rich and successful. That's my favorite, right? Because that some people have told me that's just truth.
Mm.
And I will tell them that's your truth.
Hmm.
Because in 2009, when I was managing a portfolio for Citigroup of hundreds of millions of dollars, I made 10 times what I made in 2007 and multiples of what I made in 2008 by working smarter, more productively, and being happier. And actually, that's one of the 9 money rules millionaires use, my second book from 2019, the bestseller from 2019. And, rule number 3, can happiness buy you money? Not can
Mm.
money buy you happiness, can happiness buy you money?
Hmm.
So if you're happier, you'll create more abundance in your life. And so I learned a lot of these beliefs that were empowering back in 2009 when after 2008, because you're very young, you don't remember, you're probably 12, but in 2008 the market went down, the stock market in the US went down 40%,
Hmm.
and the financial stocks went down 57%, and those were the only ones I was invested in.
Mm.
I managed to make a little bit of money that year. But the point of the story was I was grinding it out. I was moving matter to make matter. I was
Yeah.
told, work hard, become financially free, work hard, become rich and successful. And so I did. This is what I did in 2008. And probably July, August, September, we were up a little bit. November, December, had worked 70 to 75 hours each week in 2008 and barely got a bonus, barely got my salary. And I realized if I continued to do that kind of work, that I might not see my daughters become teenagers. They were 4 and 2 at the time.
Mm.
Of course, I wasn't present with them, even though I was physically with them. I was on my BlackBerry checking the stocks those weekends and evenings. And so I knew I needed to change my thoughts, my beliefs, and my actions in order to create a different reality for myself. And that's what I teach now, right? If you can change your thoughts from and beliefs from those limiting beliefs we just mentioned to empowering beliefs. And I'm not saying you need to go back to 1999 and check every code in that software. That's probably some malware in there. You just need to instill some empowering beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
What I do is I upgrade people's money software
Mm-hmm.
and instill the empowering beliefs. And so that's what I did in 2009. And I changed the way I thought, I believed, and I acted. And lo and behold, I made 10 times what I'd made in 2007. And so I put those together into the 9 Money Rules Millionaires Use, my book from 2019, because I want people to know those 9 rules. Now, by the way, I'm not a rules guy. So I'm not really good with rules. They tell me to do this, I'm probably not going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so don't follow all of them. If it doesn't resonate, what I should have said at the top of the interview was whatever resonates, take, whatever doesn't
Mm-hmm.
from this interview, throw out. I'm just here to serve you. And so rule number one is when you believe.
Mm.
Because if you don't believe it's possible to create massive wealth, it's not. Before I have people sign up for my new Invest Smart engine, which is a stock picking program, I ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 absolute faith, 1 massive doubt, what's your belief level that you could double your money in the next 1 to 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not at 8, 9, or 10, I say don't sign up
Mm.
because you create your reality and your past experience, which may have been poor, can color your future results. And
Mm.
so the people who have told me they're 10, I had one guy say, Joel, I'm a 12, I'm a 14. I'm off the charts. I know that's possible. I know that's probable. I know that's going to happen. Now he generated 140% return in 4 months.
Wow.
So belief is everything. And a lot of people come to me and say, just teach me your program.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, no. Because if your mindset is down here in worry, fear, and anxiety about money, I could give you the best strategy in the world. And it may work for a little bit, but then you're coming right back down. Right. And
Right.
so vibration and frequency and emotions are just energy and motion. Right. And so what's your energy? What's your vibration? What's your frequency when it comes to emotions around money? Are you vibrating down here in fear, worry, loss, anxiety, or are you vibrating up here in, as you talked about, gratitude, love, joy, appreciation, passion? Because, by the way, that's the same frequency as abundance and prosperity.
Mm-hmm. I love all of that. And I love that you said too that you're working with people who are ready to act on their healthy beliefs. That if we're still down here and there's negativity, it's just no strategy is ever going to work because you're convinced it's not already. So,
Well, or no, there are people who get sold strategies. Like
mm-hmm.
I had a woman I was talking to recently who said, well, I can't work with you because I just signed up for this awesome AI bot and it's gonna get me clients for sure.
Mm.
And so somebody had convinced her,
Mm-hmm.
even though her money mindset based on my 20-minute call with her was way down here in worry and fear. And she was doing a Hail Mary, right? She was like, I
Mm.
got it. This has got to work. Otherwise, I'm out of business. So I got to try
Mm.
something.
Mm.
And a lot of people are doing these kinds of things. They're getting sold a strategy or a process, and they don't realize that their money mindset, their money thermostat is set for failure,
Mm.
right? Because they were taught things about money growing up, and no matter what strategy you're given, it may work for a little bit, but over the long term, those money beliefs are going to win out.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. It's so true. So where do you like to start with people?
Mindset.
Yeah.
And what I have them do is fill out a financial freedom survey
Mm-hmm.
and then a money personality type survey. And the financial freedom survey is a lot about what their parents did, their parents thought, their parents' beliefs first. So we'll review that, and then we'll review their beliefs. I give them a
Mm-hmm.
list of statements, and I ask them, do they believe this is true? Do you believe rich people are criminals?
Mm.
By the way, I've had people say, yeah, all rich people are criminals.
Wow.
Well, then it's going to be really hard for you to be rich because you're a good
Mhm.
soul and you're creating resistance every time. You're like, well, no, rich people are criminals.
Yeah.
So we got to change that view, that belief first, if you can ever become rich. Here's another one. If I'm a good person, I should be happy with just getting by.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm spiritual, then I should be I shouldn't be rich because those rich people, are different than me.
Mm-hmm.
So the first survey is figuring out where they are, although I have a pretty good sense from the first call. And then we do the money personality type survey to figure out which of the 7 money personality types they are, which comes from my last book, Infinite Love and Money, where Molly Singh and I created 7 money personality types. By the way, the acronym is Sugar Pie. And so S is for splurge. And by the way, the names are provocative to sell books, of course.
Of
But
course.
there's each letter is uh, has positives and negatives. Each money personality type has positive and negatives. So S, splurger, U, unconscious, sounds terrible, but there's positives to being unconscious. G is for greedy, A is for accumulator, saver, sugar pie, P is the protectionist. So those are the people who are hoarding. They don't even put the money in the bank like the accumulator. They
Mm-hmm.
put it under the mattress or
Mm-hmm.
in their underneath their pillow. I is the investor, that's me, and then E is the egotist.
Mm.
And so I asked them to fill out the survey to figure out which one they are, and then adjust based on if they have a partner, if they have a business partner or a personal partner, and and because there are benefits and weaknesses to each. And then I asked them to rank their level of belief from 1 to 10 on 19 different affirmations. Because the one thing that most people who teach affirmations don't teach is your belief level. Just say, I am a money magnet. Just
Mm-hmm.
say, I am an excellent money manager over and over again. Right. And you can. And a few years from now, if you're saying it 10 times a day, you will become an excellent money manager. But most people give up after a few weeks or a few months. So what I do is I have my clients say things they believe.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you keep on saying I am financially free, I am financially free, but that's not the truth, you're just creating resistance, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so you can pound through over many, many years, but why not say I allow myself to become financially free,
Mm.
which maybe you have a much higher belief in, or someday soon I will be financially free. Now, I don't recommend saying stuff into the future forever because the future is forever in the future. But
Right.
after you do that for a couple of months and you start seeing some manifestations, which my clients, by the way, in my Money Miracles Mastermind group have manifested $2,690,000 in the last 4 years, 1.5 years.
Wow.
So when you start seeing some money manifestations and real, not like $2, but 2,000, 20,000, 200,000. We've the highest has been 322,000, by the way. So once
Wow.
you start seeing these amounts, you start getting more confident. And unfortunately, in this 3D reality, most people, it's seeing is believing. I teach the
Mm-hmm.
opposite, believing is seeing.
Right.
But once you're softening these beliefs that, these statements that you don't fully believe, then you can make them stronger once you start actually seeing some results. And I get it. Doing some baby steps, seeing some results gets you a higher level of belief and conviction. Happens to me when I'm investing. Usually I have a very high belief starting out with stock investment, but when it's working, my conviction level, my belief level will be higher.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I think this is all so fascinating because you realize how much power we have. So, if what you said about, the money doesn't grow on trees, rich people are evil, whatever that is, if you can convince yourself to the level that it limits your income capacity, why wouldn't conversely it be easy for you to change what you believe? And the opposite can occur, right?
Right. One of the affirmations I have them say or ask them what their belief level is, I create my life. I create the exact amount of my financial success. And almost everybody, I've had hundreds of clients. I've had many prospective clients that I give this to before they start working with me. And almost everyone has said, yeah, I'm 8, 9, or 10. I had somebody recently, before they started working with me, had them fill it out, and they were a 1.
Mm.
And I was like, tell me more.
Mm.
Because if you don't believe that you're responsible for your financial success, then who is? Well, my financial advisor, my financial planner. No,
Mm.
you chose them. And so I teach my clients, and I believe this myself, I take full responsibility for my life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some people will argue with that. Well, what about the economy? What about the president? What about the government? What about inflation? What about the Federal Reserve new chairman? On and on and on. What about China? What about Russia? On and on and on. I will tell you that I fully believe that your thoughts create your life and your beliefs create your reality, and thoughts become things and words give you wings. And
Mm.
so if you're blaming your life on the economy or the president or whatever, then you've lost control.
Mm-hmm.
And then anything can happen. And you're like, well, it's not my responsibility. But if you take full responsibility for your life, then you can change. And you
Exactly.
can change quickly. And so I was on a call recently with a woman, a prospective client, who told me, she lives in your state, by the way, New Jersey. And she told me, in New Jersey, as a wellness coach, you can't charge more than $500 for 4 sessions. And I said, tell me more. And she said, well, I've tried. And, the 8 or 9 or 10 people I've talked to won't pay more than that.
Hmm.
Well, I'm pretty sure there's more than 10 people in New Jersey. And this is your reality, your belief. It's not the truth. Is it limiting belief or an empowering belief? She actually said it is the truth. It has to be the truth because this is my experience.
Mm.
So I just ask prospective clients and existing clients, is it a limiting belief or an empowering belief? And if it's not empowering, why not change it to one that is?
Yeah.
What if she had said, there's got to be at least 100 people in the state of New Jersey that will pay at least $1,000? What if? And I can find them. So check yourself. Are you blaming the economy and things beyond what, quote unquote, um, are beyond yourself, and blaming others? I will tell you, you create your economy. No one else
Mm.
does. Now, some people would have said in 2009 it would have been impossible to make 10 times what you made in 2007. We were in the midst of the deepest financial crisis. Some called it a, the Great Recession because it wasn't a depression officially, uh, based on the economic indicators that we didn't go down by 25% in GDP, but it was the Great Recession. Okay. For 6 months, the economy went down pretty bad in the end of 2008 and 2009. And I just created my own economy. And I made so much more than I made in 2007 and, 4 times what I made in 2008. But in 2006 too. I made 10 times what I made in 2006 when apparently the economy was booming.
Mm-hmm.
So I say you create your economy, your beliefs. Somebody came to me recently and said, this year's tough. This is going to be a tough year.
Wow.
Right. And I said, why? And she said, well, look at the economy. Look at AI. Look at this. Look at that. And I don't know. This has been my best year so far. And I had my best 2 months in my business the last 2 months. What do you believe in?
Yes. I think this is so crucial, and it can apply so much to so much more than just your financial mindset. The words that we're using are so important for us to consider. Whether, like you said, is this limiting or empowering? Is this expansive or is it contracting? Am I putting limits on myself? Am I putting limits on myself? And I think what you're talking about when we're externally blaming that there's something happening out here, it's not me, it's something happening out here, you give your power away.
Right.
And if you give your power away, if you give your control away, then you must believe that you don't have the power or the control.
So you have 50,000 to 75,000 thoughts a day,
Mm-hmm.
but you only say 5,000 to 7,500 words out loud a day.
Hmm.
So make them count.
Hmm. Yeah. And I recognize too how easy it is to get into ruts with the things that we say. So, for example, we see someone in the hallway at work and we say, "Hey, how are you? I'm good. How are you? I'm good." Here we are hustling again, like these things that can just start to roll off of our tongue. Um, and it makes me think that the environment that we're in, the things that we're listening to, the people we're exposing ourselves to have an impact as well.
Yeah. This is going to sound crazy, but uh, the last 14 years, I have not listened to radio news. I have not
Mm-hmm.
watched TV news, and I've not read a newspaper because I know they lower your vibration, lower your frequency, and I want to be vibrating up here, not down here. So really critical to think about how, the external world is impacting you, and you get to choose what you're reading, what you're listening to, what you're watching. Uh, Critical. And by the way, the most positive people out of those 50,000 to 75,000 thoughts, they have probably 35,000 positive thoughts. So if you're having a negative thought, and we often do, I tell my clients, stop, cancel, clear, get the fear out of here. Stop, cancel, clear, get the fear out of here. Or you could use the other F word, I won't judge.
I like that though. Stop,
Cancel.
cancel, clear, get the fear out of here. I love that. I've heard I've heard people say things like that where they'll start to go into one of those rote phrases. They'll be like, "Stop, nope, take it back, start again. And it'll be, instead of an internal, it's a verbal, external, literal, using those words to cancel what they had started.
I don't know if you know Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Dr. Joe recommends just screaming change, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you're just like, it's a pattern interrupt.
Mm-hmm.
And Tony Robbins added to that, and then Sir John Templeton in his book The Worldwide Laws of Life recommended, similar to Tony Robbins, after you have the pattern interrupt, scream change, then think of one or two or three really positive things that have happened in your life.
Mm.
Birth of a child, your wedding day, something that just lights you up and raises your vibration. So,
Mm.
you're in this black, hole going down, and you change. And then think of, I think of the birth of my daughters, Lauren and Morgan. By the way, my company name is named after them. So LAUR for Lauren, MOR for Morgan. And so, thinking about that, right? And just like bathing in that miracle of childbirth, for even just if it's 5 or 10 or 20 seconds. And that will,
Mm.
shift your vibration quickly.
Mm. I love that. One of my favorite things to do is heart math. Have you ever heard of heart
Mm-hmm.
math?
Of course.
That's one of my favorite things to do. And, when you feel like those negative thoughts coming in, or there's just negativity around you, my other favorite thing to do is just say out loud, unsubscribe. I unsubscribe. And I agree
Nice.
with you. I have not watched news in I don't even know how long, or read newspapers, and I, whatever I need to know, I know. But I am so much more tuned in to people like yourself who are raising frequency, who are doing good work that is beneficial for all. And my reality is all these people who have chosen to be soul professionals, who have chosen to believe that there is more that's possible for them, and that it's possible for everybody else too.
Yep.
And so I think choosing, because you said choice before, that was one of the words that you choose not to tune into that, choose to change language, choose to tune into what is so beautiful in your life and what you're so grateful for. I think gratitude is so underrated. That is one of the practices that I think can really, even from a very low place, bring us up pretty quickly. Has that been your experience as well?
Absolutely. So the rule number 5 in the 9 money rules millionaires use is what you appreciate appreciates.
Mm-hmm.
What you appreciate appreciates. So yeah, the gratitude is so powerful. I love to tell a story, but I don't know, we don't have time for the full story. So if somebody wants to reach out to me to hear my gratitude story, reach out. But yeah, what I say is, if you can, I started doing this in 2012, and before 2012, I would go to sleep thinking about all the things that I could have done better that day,
Mm.
and didn't sleep too well. And
Mm.
so for the last 14 years, I've been writing down at least 3 things, sometimes 5 things a day, that I'm grateful for. And I do the same thing in the morning, right when I wake up. So, tonight I will write down, I'm grateful for Bridges and Beacons podcast and Kelly Meyerson for hosting me on the show, because we had a real conversation, and we probably helped at least one new person change their money mindset, right? And so, but writing down why, not just writing down, I'm grateful for being on the show, is really powerful. And with anything, any money manifestation technique, it's feeling first, manifestation second. So
Mm-hmm.
writing down, getting into the feeling, If you say, I'm grateful for a sunny day, but you do it wrote like you're checking off a box, it's not doing anything. But if you, like, I got sun coming on me right now. I don't know if you could see on my head. So, like, really feeling it, closing your eyes and feeling it and being grateful and laughing and smiling and like, yes, it's a beautiful sunny day and really feeling it, that creates, right? And so you want to write the into your gratitude journal from that aspect of, what you're grateful for and why with emotion. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's like it completely changes your perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and will put you on the path to abundance and prosperity.
Yes. Yeah. And that feeling, I think I agree with you. It's so important to feel the gratitude as much as what you're saying or what you're writing in gratitude, to really feel into that. Like you said, being just so grateful for your daughters and feeling that love and that joy and wonder and excitement. And that is where that frequency of abundance exists. Not in your financial statements or marketing. It's in that, what it makes you feel, how you envision things just getting better and better and better. Yeah,
Yep.
I love that. So we talked a little bit about some of your books you shared, but you have another book in the works. Would you like to talk at all about that before we close out the podcast?
Sure. Your path to purpose and prosperity. So it's a co-authored book with Jackie Roberge, and I don't believe in coincidences, only synchronicities. We met at a Mike Dooley Tut Wow tour, and they really are pretty wow, in Machu Picchu in Peru.
Hmm.
And actually met her right off the plane, her and her husband, and we just spent most of the week together. And then we became accountability partners, and then years later, so we met in October 2018, and then years later, she reached out to me and said, I had a dream that we're writing a book together. Are you open to it? And I was absolutely. So the point is that when you're on purpose, when you're really doing your why, you will be more prosperous. And
Mm-hmm.
most people who are on this earth are doing jobs to pay the bills. And because there's fear.
Mm-hmm.
And every day, all day, you can choose fear, you could choose faith. And most people are choosing fear. They're worried that if they go out on their own, they're not going to make it. Right? There's quote unquote all those probabilities and percentages. But again, your thoughts become things and your words give you wings. And there are, the richest people in the world, by the way, the billionaires are all entrepreneurs, have all started their own businesses, right? So what limiting beliefs do you have about starting your own business or being in business versus being a woman recently? There was a guy I was on a call with last week. He said to me, well, I got laid off a few months ago, and of course I'm going back to corporate, but in the meantime, I'm trying to bridge the gap by doing this work. And I said, well, if money was no object, would you just do this job, do this consulting? And he said, absolutely, of course. This is what I love to do.
Mm-hmm.
So why not? Because I don't have enough money to bridge the gap for years, because I don't believe that I can get this up and running and make money now.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So what are your beliefs? We're back to beliefs. Um, you know, and so yeah, that's really critical, understanding what your purpose is. And then if you do, I truly believe you'll be much more prosperous.
Yes. 100%. I believe that to be true. It has been my experience. I actually just last summer finally read, it had been on my to be read list for a long time, The Big Leap by Gay
Mhm.
Hendricks.
Yeah.
And figured out my zone of genius and started to really say, if this is my zone of genius, how do I do it here? This is my zone of genius. How do I do it here? And the more I started to recognize when I was in my zone of genius, the more I started to draw and attract those opportunities to me. And the easier it became to explain to people what I'm doing and why it works and how I see that as being in service to everyone because it's something that's unique and special to me. And so I think that that really is that peace and that connection because when we're connected to our purpose and when we truly believe and we're truly acting out of that, that's when the alignment happens
Right.
and everything feels in flow.
Yeah. I will tell you that I, when I was writing the Nine Money Rules Millionaires Use, I really believed in each of the rules and I had done some research, but when I got down to writing, it was 90 days.
Mm,
I was
mm-hmm,
done in 90 days because I wanted to get it out there. I knew it was some powerful concepts that weren't said this particular way. And I wanted everyone to know what got me through, the crisis in 2008, 9. So, yeah. And I want to help. My mission, by the way, Kelly, is to help at least 100,000 people become financially free.
mm,
So I'd love for people who are listening and watching today to be one of those. And I'd love to gift a few of you a individualized roadmap to an extra $10,000 in the next 30 days. This is normally a $497 financial freedom breakthrough blueprint call. Because of you, Kelly, I'm going to gift it to 7 people who are watching and listening so that they can move to financial freedom this month.
mm. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. And I love that you said seven. Seven is my life path number. I love numerology. And today's the 17th day that we're recording of June. So thank you so much. That is extremely generous of you. And I hope, listener or viewer, you'll take advantage of this and be one of the first people to jump in on this extremely generous offer. You have shared so many drops of wisdom, and I appreciate so much all of your little phrasing. And I love it because it's sticky and it's sticky in a good way because so many of us have conditioned thoughts and ideas and beliefs that are very, very sticky, things that have been there for since our childhood. So I love that you've got these new sticky phrases and I love that you've shared so many of them with us today. Where can people find you? Of course, we'll put everything in the show notes. And where can they follow you? And most importantly, where can they get your books?
My books are on Amazon and on my website. So as I mentioned earlier, my company name is named after my daughters, Lauren Morgan. So SALAUR for Lauren, MOR for Morgan.com. So SALAUR, MOR.com. You can get my books there. And I am on all social media from LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. It's Joel Prosperity Salomon, SALOMON. And prosperity is easy. Your mind has made it hard.
Mm,
Your mind has convinced you that money is scarce. It's
mm-hmm.
just not true. Prosperity is your birthright. You came here to thrive, not survive. So let's get you moving to thriving, not surviving.
Mm, I'm receiving all of that right now. I love that so much, Joel. And I know the listener and the viewer are also receiving that. So thank you so much. I really appreciated all of these droplets of wisdom that you've given us today. Listener, thank you for staying with us until the end of the episode. And I really encourage you to like, share, subscribe to the podcast. If this resonated with you, please share it with other people, and do it quick if you want to be one of the seven, because that will not last. That's going to go very quickly. And make sure you go ahead and follow Joel in all the places that he shared he is. Again, it'll be in the show notes. And I encourage all of you to take at least one droplet of wisdom. And don't just let this all sprinkle over your mind, but actually take one and put it into practice. And then I want you to let me or let Joel know how it worked for you, because I think that's where we build some accountability for ourselves. We get to take these things and really work them into our lives and make these big differences. And I love what you said about prosperity being our birthright. I agree that that is so true. And there is more than enough for all of us to thrive. So thank you, Joel. And
You,
we'll
Kelly.
see you next time on the podcast. Bye for now.